Rob Beeler.
Tom Triscari, how are you? I'm good. Just got back from London. We had a great event in London, which was super successful, experimenting with
that format?
Yeah, format. And, I kind of joke, hearing pitches all day long is like my normal thing.
Yeah.
It was really kind of cool to get that vibe.
Yeah.
But we're coming right out of London and we're going right into New York. And so I think it's important for us to lay out, again, what's the vision here? What are we planning on March 19th?
Yeah, March 19th, what are we planning? So we started this last year. It's funny also because, Rob and I, a lot of people don't know this, they think that we've been besties forever. It's so funny how you can still meet people that they're known and you're known. You've been around for 20 years in this space, and we hit it off and we said, and we ended up doing this event last year that went off really, really well. And the vision was back then, and it's still true today, it's around our unit of economic production, really. I mean, we are the AdTech Economic Forum. The Davos of AdTech is what it's become. So last year, when we started in April, we said, okay, we're gonna do economics, right? It's the AdTech Economic Forum, it's the Davos of AdTech. We're gonna bring in people that generally aren't on stage talking about the money side of this business. So folks from venture capital, private equity, corporate development, equity analysts, and then some real celebrities in the space that know the crossover between advertising and finance better than anyone, like for example, Sir Martin Sorrell, Rashad Tabakawala, and several other folks that made it real, right? That made the content real. And that's important because our formula for this thing, our unit of economic production at the AdTech Economic Forum, which makes sense, is enlightenment. How do we produce enlightenment for our audience, for our sponsors, for ourselves and our speakers? And we do that with the 4 C's, right, which are sort of raw ingredients that go into the production. So content first, that's what separates us quite a bit. Conversations that happen at the event, connections that are made both new and old, and finally collaboration. And I had to look for another C that really stood for deal making, because there were quite a few deals that came out of the event last April. Just last week in London, I'm already hearing about deals. You got to go out and make deals. I mean, you know that better than anyone. And so that's what we want in this conference, is to produce enlightenment that ends up in conversation, deal making, etc. So the vision last year, and it'll be very similar but tweaked up this year from what we learned. We love feedback and we like tweaking things and making it better. This is Beeler Tech. This is what you do with your events all these years. So we knew that the morning sessions really hit a chord, and those were on micro and macroeconomics for both public and private companies in AdTech. And then in the afternoon, we went down the supply chain. This year, it's all finance, economics, corporate development, private equity throughout the day, with the hot themes sprinkled on top. Meaning we're gonna make sure with some graphics and some charts throughout the day that we're talking about identity, CTV, commerce, media, the publisher side of things, where you have a tremendous amount of expertise is very important to this ecosystem that has its challenges and opportunities. So those hot themes layered across people from corporate development, people from private equity that are buying and selling companies, people from venture who are investing in companies, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting there, again, is just the idea that we're going to talk about innovation, right? We're just going to talk about, again, where ad tech is moving forward in places like CTV, identity, and so forth. These are the areas everyone's focused on. Well, the investment needs to follow. It needs to sit there and help decide what wins, what isn't going to be really a solution much longer.
Yeah, it's like Laura Martin from Needham, who is on stage from an equity analyst point of view with folks like Shweta Kajuria. And then she did a brilliant interview with Sir Martin. Those videos are available for folks to watch if they want to check them out, and they're very good. But it's like, okay, great, something's happening. AI, for example, the hottest topic of all. Well, who are the winners and losers? It always comes down to that when you're on the money side of the business, about where investor money is going, where is it going to exit, who's going to win, who's going to lose, who's going to get better, who's going to be worse off. And I think those are important discussions for the group of folks that are here, our audience sort of composition, which is also quite unique.
Yeah, and so I think you kind of give us an idea of the agenda. Talk about the fact that we've got some people are coming back. Again, they enjoyed that experience. They love kind of talking openly and so forth, but we also have
some new blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because we're organizing the day quite differently to take that morning session and expand it out through the entire day. Also building in more networking time. That was the feedback, right? We had networking time, and the networking was like a lot of buzz, right? But we want a little bit more time for networking, for people to connect and converse. And also the Q&A as well. We're adding that, and we're adding a lot of Q&A time into the sessions, and how we do that will be quite unique. So some of the folks returning, for example, we have Sir Martin Sorrell, we've got Rashad, who closed the event last year. His job was to watch every session, and we had like 15 of them. Take a bunch of notes and come deliver a 20-minute, very concise thing right on this stage, and he absolutely delivered, right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna open up the event with thoughts about what's changed from last year to now, and then he'll close the event again. We got Sir Martin, as I mentioned. You've got the likes of, from the venture side, you've got Sonia Partalo from S4S, you got Eric Franchi, you've got, as I mentioned earlier, Laura Martin and Shweta Kajuria, you've got a bunch of people from the corporate development side, folks at Double Verify, for example, Todd Randak. You've got Sheila Spence from Spotify Corporate Development, because they're looking at companies and they're looking at the world in a very, very, very specific way, in a very explicit way. And so that'll be really interesting to spread that throughout the day. We've got Reed Raymond from Apollo, Stephen Master from GTCR, they're returning. So I mentioned some names that were here last year, and some names that are going to be newer to the mix as well. So it's going to be really fantastic. I can't wait to do this again. Hopefully it goes off. Last year it was like, we had the vision. You don't know, just like in London a week ago, you don't know what's going to happen, but it is unbelievable, surreal, and incredible when you're standing up, particularly last year here.
Yeah.
And it all just played out as we had talked about.
And one of the keys to that was the, again, just like, it's a no press event, right? So people spoke very openly, very candidly about their opinions on that. And again, it's a conversation you're not hearing anywhere else. There's one other new component that we have to talk about that I'd love for you to expand on, which is the Young Bulls, that program.
Yeah, we don't have the specific name for it, but Yahoo's helping us with this, which is great. So it's the Young AdTech Bulls came from the concept of Brian O'Kelly moderating as an angel investor our venture capitalist panel last year. It was a small panel, it wasn't like a lot of people. It was Sonia and Eric and Darcy from Hearst Ventures. And he looked up at the audience, he looked up out here, and he's like, where are the young people? Not that we're a bunch of geriatrics or something like that, but he's right. And so there were young people here, but not as many as, because it's young folks in ad tech, whether it's on the finance side or whether it's in ad ops or wherever they fit in sort of the functional area of this ecosystem. So we're bringing in, we're having a system, a sort of an application system to have young folks from across the industry here at the event that's sponsored by Yahoo. There's some other things going on around that too, so there'll be a good slug of folks here. Maybe they're interested in a career move, or maybe they're interested in a career functional move. Maybe they've been in ad ops, but they have finance skill, like how do I get to work at a private equity firm? How do I go to corporate development?
Right.
And this is the type of conference for that person. So yeah.
So let's expand on that in terms of the audience. Who are you expecting to see here? What is that composition?
Yeah, I mean, percentage-wise, from what we just see in our own, the activity that we get from last year and also from London, but particularly from last year, I think we'll be about 35% senior folks from ad tech companies of all maturities, CEO, CFO, etc., corporate development. I think we'll be about 35% there. I think we're always about 20-25% from a pure finance sort of functional area. Corporate development people, equity analysts that cover the public ad tech stocks, other venture, angel investors, etc. That's what makes the event, that slug of folks makes it very different. I would say probably 15 to 20% publisher side, again, mostly senior people, mid to senior people. And then the rest are advertiser agency folks from the marketer side of the equation who really, really do in my view, need to increase their fluency of finance and ad tech because they're dealing a lot with procurement. They're dealing a lot with the CFO side of the house to prove what they're doing and how they're spending the money. And I think learning to speak this language that happens on this stage is a key thing, is a key skill.
I think the only thing you didn't mention were CMOs, which I think we obviously make
Yeah.
sure to make sure that we have that representation. They're of course looking at this whole ecosystem and trying to make sure they understand what bets they're placing and so forth.
Exactly. You know, it's not generally a stage for CMOs because there's plenty of other conferences that have the CMO or the VP of media on stage. This is about, like I said, the finance and economic angle, because those are the guys who write the checks and collect the checks, right? So we want to bring that to bear. We did it last year. I think it's going to be amazing this year, the way things are turning out so far. Because last year, remember, we said we had vision and we had 100 days to get it done. We were out of our minds. I think that was part of the magic, though.
Yeah.
Now we are still on a pretty tight pace.
Yeah, it's time.
But we got a little bit more wiggle room to get.
Well,
things
again,
really
people. I
want.
think there's an aspect of people know somewhat to expect.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we've kind of proven that we can do that. And so the thought here though, of course, is that here at the Time Center we plan to fill this up. So buying a ticket now makes sense. Get in while you can. We do expect to kind of sell out, and it's going to be an amazing group. And join us on March 19th here at the Time Center for the AdTech Economic Forum.
Gonna be amazing. See you guys there.